everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Every Man's Bourbon Review. Since the last video went so well, I really wanted to bring my buddy Steve back. Steve, thanks for joining us again.
You're welcome. It went viral, I think, actually.
Yeah, amazing, man. And, if you like what you see, please like and share and subscribe. We're going to try and do future videos. If there's something you'd like reviewed, please let us know. If it's something we can get our hands on and we could afford, or if you want to bring us to review and donate, we'll be happy to taste it and tell you how great it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I mean? We're going to go ahead. We've done some high-end reviews. I don't need to reintroduce Steve. We talked about his credentials on the last video. This is like a 5-year journey for me with bourbon and stuff, and it's all over the place. I like to try different bourbons, and you know what? I like them all. Sometimes I get stuff. It's not like it doesn't get drunk, even if it's not that good.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever, man. Yeah. Right. So today we want to talk about something a little cheaper, Steve. I know you're a high-end guy, a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So some of you might have heard of Heaven Hill Distillery. Now, I highly recommend the Heaven Hill Bottled in Bond. Excellent bourbon, good price point, around $50-$60.
Okay.
You can find it, almost anywhere. But they have other products, right? Heaven Hills is a very big distillery, right? So we want to talk about what used to be Heaven Hill Bourbon is now called Quality House. They changed the brand. I don't know if you know
Quality,
this.
I do not know this. Quality House.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and taste it and review it. If you have any comments, please keep it family friendly and clean and friendly, and we'll try and respond, but feel free to comment. So if you want to go ahead and grab the Heaven Hill.
Where do you keep it? I don't.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't stay on the top shelf, man. It's below Castillo Rum and Gary's Good.
Oh, right.
Keep it in the cabinet on the bottom shelf. Yeah,
wow,
so that's the house whiskey.
Really,
yeah, we're screwed in the bottom.
This is at the very bottom. Yeah. Quality House, old style bourbon, Kentucky straight bourbon, whiskey, 40% alcohol per volume, 80 proof.
Everyone see that over there?
Now you swear by this.
Now I'm telling you, my friends love my old fashions. Okay. Now I make my own simple syrup. That's the empty bottle right down there on the end. Me and my buddy Greg, we buy Luxardo cherries off of Amazon. It's about $100 for a 6-pound can. Well, you know this,
yeah,
right?
They don't know this though.
Yeah, it's not worth buying. A jar like this is like $30.
Yep.
So you just buy the 6-pound can. We split it. We put it in mason jars. And let me tell you, these things are amazing. I could eat them out of the jar.
Put them on ice cream.
Yeah,
cheesecake.
They're
Awesome.
They're really good, right? So when it comes to old fashions, we talked a little bit about mixing, and I know you made me a really good old fashioned at your place. I like mine on the sweeter side. I put a lot of simple syrup. I put maraschino or the Luxardo cherry juice in there.
Yep.
In a pinch, if I don't have oranges, I put a splash of orange juice. Let me tell you,
Interesting.
it's really good.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when it comes to mixing bourbon, right? Like the other day, I had some friends over. We went through a bottle of Buffalo Trace, right? Sometimes this stuff's hard to find. It's a little difficult to stomach when your friends are stumbling around, slamming down your good bourbon. But, they're friends. This is what I had. I didn't get a chance to get the Quality House. Now, I want to talk about the price point on this. What do you think that cost? It's a Magnum, right? 1.75 liter.
I would say $38.99.
$24.99 before tax.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is cheap.
Yeah. So my go-to when it comes to cheap bourbon is Evan Williams Bottled in Bond.
That was great.
Nothing wrong with it. I'm telling you though, this Quality House, even as a sipper, is pretty good. Now we're gonna taste it and review it again, but I've drinking this many, many times. Nothing wrong with it. It's got a clean taste to it. Doesn't leave me hungover. I praise it, and I should start buying it by the case the way these guys drink my whiskey around here.
Probably. Yeah.
So do you want to throw us some?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll do these beautiful glasses, even though, in my opinion, Quality House doesn't necessarily deserve this, but I'm gonna hold it back because I've not tasted it. So
So I want to talk about the Glencairn glasses. I didn't have it, okay? And my buddy Tim, who by the way, he used to be my boss at work. He has the Guinness World Record for the most lights at a Christmas show. He's got like 600,000 bulbs, Guinness World Record. Right? He's a Scotch guy. And I said, I don't have any Glencairn glasses. He said, well, take some of mine, right? Because, I got to tell you, I wanted to buy them. gee,
They're expensive.
man, I go on Amazon for 4 Glencairn glasses, it's like $40-50, and like, you know, that's a bottle of bourbon, good bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, I'd rather be drinking it than put it
in fancy glasses.
Yeah.
But you know, he was nice enough to give me this, so you know, thank you, Steve. So before we taste it, let's get a nose on it. And, you know, it's not as chewy or sticky on the glass. I mean, it sticks a little bit, but it doesn't really have the legs of the last one we reviewed.
So this one
And
definitely.
let's talk about the color.
So this one definitely has a more yellow. It's not as brown, not as caramel. It's definitely more on the yellowy side to it. Looks kind of light. Also, you know, clear.
I smell booze when I smell it.
It smells like a bourbon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
there's a candy smell to it, right? Like there's some sweetness you can smell in there.
Yeah, it's definitely on the lighter side. It's not as
light. That's a good word for it.
Yeah, the smell doesn't kill you, right? Like some bourbons, you smell them and you get it. It's in your nose. This is very light, and I would imagine that because of the smell, it's probably gonna be smoother than I'm expecting it.
Well, that's what I was talking about, the heat. Sometimes with the less alcohol by volume, the heat doesn't kill it as much, you know. There's some that would say smooth isn't even a word that should be associated with bourbon. It's just made up. What do you think about that?
Huh. I've never heard it put in that way. I think it's, you know, smooth is a term that I believe has value, because I think smoothness implies when people say it's smooth, meaning there's no burn.
Yeah.
It goes down smooth. Drinking a glass of water, smooth. You know, anything that creates a burn is rough. There's a little bit of like friction there. It doesn't go down as nice as you'd want it to be. That's where I think smooth it works. You know, smooth. It's not chunky, right? Like so.
I would characterize the nose on this, if I had to compare it to a food, as like a piece of butterscotch. Like that's no.
Well, it certainly has that color.
Yeah.
It certainly has a color of butterscotch. It smells actually the more
like
I put it.
Butter.
Yeah, the more I put it to my nose, it actually has a smell that I could grow to enjoy.
Yeah. Let's see.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, so we talked about corny bourbon the last time.
Yeah.
Stuff's probably pretty young. First thing I get is corn, but not in a bad way. Like
It's a sweet corn.
it's a sweet corny taste, almost like a kettle corn, popcorn type thing.
Exactly.
I'm gonna take another sip because it didn't feel complex to me. To me, it tastes like a standard bourbon. Just
Yeah, but that's what you want in this.
right
For
the
45,
price.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing complex. It's not gonna blow you away. It's not bad. It's not great. It's good to me. Like it's almost like what I expect a bourbon to taste like.
I gotta say, for the price, for the bottle, it's better than I expected. It's actually something I could sip on and hang out. If you gave this to me, you didn't tell me who it was, I'd go, this is pretty solid.
Yeah. So I don't remember. Did we talk about this used to being Heaven Hill and now it's Quality House?
You and I might have talked about it
I don't know if we
privately,
did it on
but
camera. So
yeah.
yeah, this stuff used to be marketed with the same colors and everything. I mean, I saw the label. I was like, boy, that looks like Heaven Hill, which I had a hard time finding. And then I grabbed the Quality House, and then when I researched it, apparently they rebranded it as Quality House.
Do you know why?
I do not know why. I'm not sure. You know, I'm pretty sure Heaven Hill has many different bourbons, right? Like that's one of the larger distillers, I believe.
They were probably trying to pull some of their name away from
the low end,
the
bottom end.
Yeah.
You know, but for the price in a low end bourbon, I have to say, yeah, can't go wrong.
I would put this in my rail.
And you know what's
what I mean?
crazy about this? Oh, I didn't even break it. It's
I
plastic.
wasn't sure what you were doing there.
Oh, listen,
I got
man.
nervous.
You know, I'm getting a little, you know, it really hit me hard. But I'm just saying, like, you know, a few friends are hanging around, get a little wild, you drop the bottle, it doesn't break. And you know what? If
Beauty
it
of
does,
plastic.
who cares,
Yeah.
man? Nothing like a bourbon in plastic.
$40, $45. I like it.
24 to 99.
24 or 24.
Before taxes.
Quality House, dude. That's that. I enjoy the name Quality House. It has a certain ring to it.
All right, so we tasted it straight up, and it was standard, but it was decent, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I think you've convinced me with this tasting that for the price, it's worth it. Yeah, for an everyday drinker, for someone like you and I to host a party and have some people over and feel good about not blowing the wallet when people are drinking a bunch. This works. And again, like you said, it's fucking spill proof. You can knock the hell over, it doesn't matter. You can throw it at somebody. So I was gonna make an old fashioned for Fred, but we're still upgrading our bar tools and stuff like that. So next time we're gonna be ready to make a cocktail. Probably make an old fashioned, obviously bourbon. This is what we're here for.
Which, by the way, I've made dozens of old fashions with the Quality House. And look, my clientele at my home bar is not anything expert, so they love them, and I tend to use the Quality House when I can. Right?
It's the kind of bourbon that I've now tasted that you can convincingly make a good old fashioned. I know just by the taste. This is something where Hill Rock you would not necessarily mix unless you're doing a high grade Manhattan or an old fashioned. But again, steer away. Usually that's a sipper. That's a mixing bourbon and a good one.
All right, so I think we want to try it on the rocks. I got a couple of rocks glasses.
Yeah.
So my cousin had sent me a bottle of blackened whiskey by Metallica, and these glasses came with it. That was really nice of him. So thank you, Cousin Art. We're going to enjoy your glasses. I hope you see my video. Remember, drop a like and subscribe.
And again, if there's anything you want us to review, taste, look at, throw bottles on the bar, leave something in the comments so we know. And if we can get it, we will. And if you want to donate a bottle, obviously that will go a lot farther too. So
sounds good.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, my brother. I'm not used to tapping the table.
Someone told me it has a good luck charm. Actually, you know what? First note on the ice, it actually, in my opinion, it drinks smoother without the ice. The ice creates a very minor sharpness. There's no real burn on this either way, but it does something about the ice. Brings out something that I don't want to say isn't favorable, but it's noticeable where I go, that tastes different than.
Sure. Well, the ice could be because it's from Beacon's Finest water.
Yeah.
I just
Beacon's
make ice
Finest.
cubes from the tap water.
That's what it is. So
I mean?
it's all the mineral content of Beacon's Finest water.
It's funny. I talked about butterscotch before with the nose. I don't necessarily taste butterscotch, but I almost taste like a banana's Foster in there. Like it giving me a banana taste, like a very like a banana pudding taste, along with that sharpness you talked about. I am getting the sharpness and that taste. I even talked about the Hill Rock that I said I can't identify. I don't know what it is, but I don't often get banana when
Boozy
I taste.
banana Foster. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
But it's light. It doesn't have a lot of flavor. And after the rocks, it really loosened up. I mean, it's like thin now, not chewy.
Speaking of that, this kind of bourbon you could use to impart with cooking. This would be a good cooking one. I think it's not the cheapest stuff where just straight burn off, but you could make a nice banana Foster with that, and it would accompany it just right. But you could cook with that and feel good about it.
So I think that the price is wrong for where I'm getting it from. Okay, because when you start talking about the lower end stuff, you start talking about the Four Roses, the Jim Beam. That stuff all costs more than this. And not to knock Jim Beam, because Jim Beam is notorious for bourbon, right? You talk about bourbon, Jim Beam is it, right? Like
Sure.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
That's the Budweiser, that's the king of bourbon,
Yeah,
right?
right.
You know what I'm saying? But even that's more expensive than the Quality House. I really, with the price point, man, I really gotta say this is the one I like to go with.
I would agree with you. I've never been a big fan of Jim Beam, believe it or not. If I were to pick something one over the other, I would pick Jack over Jim Beam. Jim Beam was just never something that was appealing to me, although it's had its staple in the market for a long, long time. It has fallen off. A lot of people don't call for it anymore. But, you know, something like a Quality House to still hang in there and have a lower price point, you know, keep buying it until someone figures out that it needs to be higher.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing about bourbon, right? Like, let's talk about Eagle Rare. I saw a bottle today for $60. I remember when it was $25.
Yep.
And I was like, age 10 years, great, good, you know, it's good stuff. But not at $60, $70.
You know, all it takes is a few guys reviewing it, and it just.
All right, so final thoughts on the Quality House.
Quality House is quality. It's a good bourbon for under $30. You cannot beat it. It's a good mixing bourbon. I would suggest that for, you know, any kind of cocktail that you might be wanting to experiment with, especially if you're not sure if you're gonna like it. That's a good thing to try out because you'll ultimately like the bourbon. You may not like the cocktail, but it's a good thing to experiment with. Cooking also is good. You know, as far as on the lower end bourbons, it gets a high mark for me because it's smooth both ways. There's not a lot of burn, which I was surprised. Usually lower end bourbons, you get more of that chest burn. It wasn't there. It's good. It's good. Thumbs up, man.
This is the first time you've had the Quality House?
I've never even heard of it, let alone try it. So yeah, I have nothing against low end bourbons. Last video I was talking about a bourbon called Lexington, which is a $25 bottle of bourbon that was given to me as a gift. That turned out to be I don't want to say similar, but like very surprisingly, wow, that's a good bourbon. But I generally don't. In whether it's wine, whether it's another spirit, I generally stick around $40. I feel that's safe because there's a lot of swill out there. But every now and again, you get something that shines like this, and you know it sometimes takes someone like Fred who tries a lot of different bourbons and then finds one that is a gem, really.
Well, it's something that you touched on that I didn't think about, right? If you want to experiment with bourbon, you want to experiment with mixtures. You don't want to be mixing your Blantons. You don't want to be mixing with your Wellers.
Well, you won't even want to do it with Jack Daniels. Or Jim Beam, rather, because the price is going to kill you trying to come up with cocktails. But something like that's under 30, and even if the cocktail, even if if you dump it out, no big deal. But even if it isn't what you expected, the bourbon is still good. You know what I mean? It's not a total wash. You could still probably choke it down and be like, okay with it.
And you know, the $24.99, you got to remember, it's a 1.75.
You get a lot of alcohol for.
At the price point, I think dollar for dollar, you know, I'd have to put it up against the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. I would.
Interesting.
You know, and I love Evan Williams.
Well, we should do a side by side then to see really.
Yeah, so I was gonna get the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond when I picked this stuff up. So the problem was they didn't have it, and you know, the value there is also the Magnum, because if you get into the 1 liter or the 750, it's, you know, the price difference. I always find if you can buy a 750, the price is just so much better.
I mean, yeah, anytime you buy a handle, you're gonna.
But it doesn't fit on the bar. You know, that's the other thing, right? Like sometimes I keep a 1 liter bottle of stuff, and I just buy the bigger one, and I just pour it in.
Yeah, the only thing about bottles like this is, you know, they're just not sexy, right? They don't.
Right.
But they're not supposed to be. They're just, you know, this is just where you go, you pass it around and just.
Bottom shelf, we're not displaying.
Yeah, right.
It
goes.
sure,
you don't talk to anybody about this, but overall.
Come on, little buddy. Let's put you away. No one needs to look at you.
Great pick. Put that away. Close it up.
Okay. So final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Great bourbon for the price. It's utility.
Yeah. So you know, go out, grab yourself a bottle. Hopefully, you can find some. You know, my local store always has it. Right. There's also availability. You got to talk about, right?
It might not be available in every region, especially if you're in the middle of the country or out west. It may not be there, you know. But if you see it, pick it up.
Yeah, it's nice to put in stock, and it's a very rounded bourbon.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sure if you get it by the case too, you're gonna even get a bigger price cut. It's something that's gonna last. You're not gonna go wrong with it. Again, you can cook with it, you can drink it, you can mix it.
You can pour it down the toilet.
Yeah.
whatever.
Use as cleaner, whatever.
You know, you could do the
Malt
what's that
cocktail.
Revenge of the Nerds thing where the guy was breathing fire and he caught the frat house on
Oh yeah, fire dancers can use it. Yeah,
Yeah.
anything.
Right. Okay, well, anyway, this concludes our latest bourbon video, man. Appreciate all your support. You know, definitely, if you like what you see, drop that like, subscribe. We're going to continue to try and keep these going. You know, again, I know I promised videos in my first one, and I think it's 4 years now, right? Has it been 4 years since I made? Well, I mean, there's the last one we released, but before
Yeah.
that, the Pappy one
Yeah.
was 4 years. We still have just a little taste of it left, man. But I've been sharing with my friends, and you know, listen, you know, you have to find alternatives, and you know, Heaven's Hill for the price, you can't go wrong.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.